Treehouse families. Would you like to do some art with me?
Happy spring, I've been missing you. I hope you're finding fun activities around your house while you're away from school. I went on a neighborhood walk looking for signs of spring. I saw green shoots, buds on trees, new grass. I heard birds singing, and I saw several spring flowers like daffodils, hyacinth, and tulips. In today's lesson, we will make spring flowers using a black Sharpie, crayons, 2 shades of pink, green, purple, yellow, and orange. You will also need watercolor paints and a paintbrush, a cup for water for rinsing your brush, and a napkin just to catch any of that water that might drip out. Here's an example of what our finished piece will look like. We're going to be making a hyacinth, a pink tulip, and daffodils, and we'll show the bulb growing under the ground. Let's begin. We've got the top and the bottom, and we're going to draw one line from the edge of the paper all the way over to the very edge of the other side. Now this line can be straight or it can be a little bumpy. This is going to be our soil line. Next, we're going to make our bulbs under the ground. And our bulbs are not exactly a round shape. They're sort of a teardrop shape. Kind of come to a point, rounded to a point. Let's start with the bulb in the center. There's our bulb. Now when the bulb starts to grow, little roots will grow from the bulb. This motion is down and back up, down and back up, down and back up, down, back up, I forgot to put my cap on. Okay, let's make our tulip first. We want to make sure when we're making our flowers that we leave some space at the top. This is where we'll make our flowers. So when you're making your stem, don't go too high up. We're going to go to about the middle of the paper, of this space here. One straight line. Another straight line right next to it to give our stem, we'll make our stem a little thicker. They don't have to be the same size. I think I'll make this one a little bit shorter. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We have our 3 stems. We'll first make our tulip. To make our tulip, we're going to start with the bottom. And it's a rounded curved line that swoops down and then back up. So to help yourself, you might do, here's your stem, maybe a dot here and a dot there. And I can swing down all the way down to my stem and back up again. That's okay, that didn't touch. bring that line in. It's a curved line in. And another curved line in. Stop. Curved line up and a curved line down. There's our tulip. Let's start with, let's do our hyacinth. Our hyacinth takes a little time, but that's okay. We're going to make a oval shape here. And we're going to go right over our stem here. You can see parts of my stem that I made are peeking through, and that's okay. Let's see. I'm going to start maybe here. And I'm going to come to about there. I'm going to make a rounded oval down and back up to close my shape. Next, I'm going to fill this shape with sort of a daisy looking flower with a round, start with a round center, curved line up and back, curved line up and back, curved line up and back, all the way around. Now it's okay if those petals go right over your line. You won't see that. Hyacinth are my favorite spring flower. They're really fragrant. They smell wonderful. And inside of a hyacinth, you'll find lots of little tiny flowers on one stem. It's a very busy flower. Right over my stem. Sort of just wherever I can find space is where I will put a flower. I'm not making them too small or too big. Okay, it's pretty good. I filled this shape pretty well. Next, I'm going to go around my oval shape and make circles all the way around on the edge. Now this hyacinth will probably take you a little more time to make, but you can always pause the video if you need more time. You can go as slow or as fast as you'd like. This is your lesson. Okay, all the way around. Next, I'm going to fill all these empty spaces that you see here with circles. It's fun looking for all the empty spaces. Right over that stem. Oh, there's one. There's one. Pretty good. Next, let's do our daffodil. Okay, a daffodil, here's the stem, and we're going to make the inside of the daffodil. We're going to make that above the stem so there's some space because we're going to put the petals underneath. Going to start with a curved line right above that stem. Next, I'll draw the sides of the inside. 1, 2. Make a zigzag line connecting these two lines. Now we're going to make a zigzag line that goes up and back. It's going to be sort of a rounded zigzag. Up and back. We're going to make 6 petals for our daffodil. And wherever you put these petals is just fine. Now these petals have sort of a point to them. So we're going to go out to a point and back in. Okay, let's start with one on the side here. Out and back in. They're kind of wide petals. There's one. Out and back in. Out and back in. Out and back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more. These petals will be behind the inside of the daffodil, so I'm going to start behind this shape. Now I'm seeing that this stem is not touching my flower, and I'm just going to connect them now. There. Next, we're going to make our leaves for our hyacinth, tulip, and daffodil. Now, tulip leaves are very wide. So you'll start in the middle of your stem and make a curved line out and bring it back to your stem. Let's give it 2 leaves. Another curved line out and bring it back in. Good. Daffodil leaves are long and they're skinny. You can see here they're long and they're skinny. Starting at the bottom of your stem, go straight line up and a straight line down, not too wide. Let's make this leaf bend. Maybe a grasshopper jumped on that leaf and it bent down, or the heavy rain has made that one droopy. For this one, you'll come out, up, make a line down, line in, and back down to your stem. Good. Now our hyacinth leaves, let's make that also a curved, droopy leaf. Straight line up from the stem, line down, line in, and back down. We'll make this line straight. Straight line up and a straight line down. Good. We have our 3 flowers. Make sure you cap up your marker. Now, if you're going to be using watercolor paints, make sure that using a Sharpie marker is important, because if you're using just a Crayola marker, they will tend to bleed. So Sharpie markers are good because when you put the water on the paper, it won't start to leak all over your paper. So we're good with our Sharpie marker. Okay, so we're first going to shade in our flowers. Now this will take some time, and I might go a little faster than you might go, but that's okay. You can always stop and pause your video or come back to the flower that you're shading in. Okay, let's do the hyacinth. Hyacinths can be purple, pink, and white. I like purple best for the hyacinth. So I'm simply just going to shade in all this purple. And what's fun is when I add my watercolor paint on top, wherever I put the crayon, the waxy crayon, the water will just sort of run right off it. So you'll be able to see my colors shine through. I'm going to make all of these dark. I'm pressing hard because if I press really light like this, it's pretty it's very pretty, but it's kind of the same color as the blue that I'm going to use. So I really want those colors to show. So I'm pressing hard. Okay, now I don't have to press so hard with the background of these flowers here. The purple will shine through, and the dark purple will pop. I'm going back and forth, just shading in all that empty space. I can go right over all my coloring in back and forth motions. Oh, there. My hyacinth is finished. Next, let's shade in our tulip. For our tulip, I have two different shades of pink. I chose a dark pink and a light pink. Tulips can be lots of different colors, pinks and reds and yellows and whites and multicolor. In today's tulip, I'm going to do sort of a dark pink and light pink. So with my darker shade, I'm going to trace the lines of my tulip. And I'm going to press hard. Sometimes I have to go over the line a couple times. We're going to make 3 lines for the center of our tulip. One straight in the middle, one line up, one line next to it. These 2 lines are a little shorter. Okay, and I pressed hard. Now with my lighter shade, I'm just going to shade in the rest of my tulip. Doing lots of back and forth coloring, and I'm pressing hard. There, my tulip is finished. Next, we're going to shade in our daffodil. Daffodils can be white petals with a yellow inside, or my favorite, yellow petals with an orange inside. Let's start with the inside of our daffodil, and that will be orange. Pressing hard, I'm going to shade in my orange center. Okay. Next, my yellow petals. You can start with any petal you would like. And you're just going to press hard on your yellow crayon to fill in the shape. That looks nice. Next, our green stems and leaves. Let's do our stems first. Let's start with our tulip, and we're just going to press down and do up and down coloring. If you went sideways, you wouldn't have very much space. So make your crayon go up and down. You have a very small space to color in. Up and down color, up and down strokes. There's our tulip. Next, let's do our daffodil. Now, is it okay if you go outside the lines? Of course. Everyone's doing their best. And will yours look exactly like mine? No, and that's okay. I like to see when everyone's looks a little different. Okay, 1, 2, our third flower, our hyacinth. Okay, let's color in our leaves next. Sort of tracing the outside of my shape. That gives me a sort of a shape to shade in. Trace your shape. Now color, fill in the shape with your crayon. And the leaves are going up, so my strokes are going up as well. It would be hard to go this way. So make your strokes go up. You can press down hard this way. It's pretty good. Let's do our tulip next. My tulip's finished. Next, my daffodil. Trace that line all the way up and back down and fill in that shape. Traced it, now I'm going to fill my shape in. Up and down. Okay, all my stems and leaves are shaded in green. Oh, I'm seeing something I forgot, and that's okay. I forgot a very important color. I forgot my brown. I'll need to go get my brown. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I bet you realized I forgot my brown. I forgot. That's okay. So I found a brown, but this brown, the paper's kind of high on my crayon, so I'm going to take my nail and just open up that crayon a little bit so I have some brown to work with. Just peel off the paper. Okay, let's shade in. Do you remember what these are called? These are the bulbs. Shade in your bulbs growing under the ground. You can't see them, but they're there. And the roots. I'm pressing down hard, coloring in my bulbs. Okay. Next, I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to shade in the soil underneath our flowers. For this, I'm not going to do up and down coloring. I'm going to do big, wide, side-to-side coloring. Use your other hand, your helper hand, to hold down your paper so you can go back and forth without your paper moving around. You can make them really big back and forth coloring or really small back and forth coloring when you have a small space here. And do you see how I can go right over my bulbs with this brown color because it's the same color, but I'm pressing lightly. I pressed dark, pressed hard for the bulb, making a dark color, and soft back and forth for the soil. There. Now the part I bet you were excited about from the very beginning. We're going to do some painting and we're going to be using watercolor paints. The two colors that I chose to paint in my background, and you can choose a different color if you want, that's okay. I chose a very nice blue for a really pretty blue sky day with some green on the bottom that looks like leaves growing. Okay, so when we are painting with watercolor, I'm going to move this to the side a little bit so you can see. Wet your brush. Now I have lots of brushes to choose from here, and you can really choose any brush you like, but for this lesson I really wanted to move the paint across my whole paper here, and with working with watercolors we work kind of fast because when the paint dries, the water dries, it doesn't move on the paper anymore. So I chose a wide brush, but any brush will be just fine. Okay, first my brush needs to be wet, it's dry. So I'm going to just dip my brush in my water, a little tap, and I'm going to start with my blue. Here's my blue. I'm going to put a little bit of blue on my brush, back and forth, to get my brush wet with blue. And now the fun part. Now I'm going to start at the top, and this blue is very blue. It's very pretty. I'm going to go back and forth all the way across. Get a little more paint You know you need more paint when your paintbrush is dry on your paper. Now do you see I can go right over my crayon and the watercolor just runs right off. It doesn't stick. Water does not like to stick to oil or wax. Right over that shape. Now here's some wetness here. I want to take that wetness with my brush and push it all the way across my paper. This paint will really go quite far as long as your brush is wet. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of my soil to make a nice sky. Okay, I worked kind of fast pushing those wet puddles across my paper. You might go a little slower, and that's okay. And I think I did a pretty good job coloring in all the parts. I'm just going to take my brush and get some of those wet parts off my flower. Okay. Next, I'm going to take my brush and rinse it pretty good because I'm going to change colors. Every time you change colors, you want to give your brush a little rinse. Gently shake off your brush. I'm going to choose green next. Gotta wake up the green, it was dry. Okay, next. Now my paper is wet, so it will start to run a little bit, and that looks really nice. It makes it look like the leaves are growing. I'm going to start at the bottom and go right along that line where we have our soil line. Okay, a little more wetness. And now I'm going to just take my brush and I'm going to make some green lines coming up, and that will look like maybe other flowers growing in the background. These are just up and down marks, anywhere you like. Right over my painting. Some can be short, some can be long. I'm going to make these lines all the way across my paper. There, that looks nice. Okay, changing colors. You know what to do. Rinse your brush. Gentle shake. Sometimes I take my brush and I just let the water push off the side of the cup. We are going to paint our soil next. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. Okay, a little water. Gotta wake up the brown and get it wet. It will not work if the paint is dry. Okay, And for this, we're just going to make those big strokes that go all the way across. And we're going to move this paint all the way across. And there you have it. You have your spring picture of your flowers. Remember the names? Hyacinth, tulip, and daffodil. Thank you so much for painting with me today. See you next time. Bye.